Gokugenyo everybody, Wade Willis here, doing my playthrough of Umineko. I'm in chapter 2, can't remember what part I'm on. I know I just left off at a cliffhanger for all you guys. I know some of you were annoyed of where I left off. So it looks like there is a church. We had no idea there was even a church, and every one of the siblings and their significant others, I'm guessing, were killed in this church that we didn't even know existed. And yeah, just really excited for this. And also with regard to this, guys, after this upload, I will switch to the PS3 sprites. Everyone's been complaining about it. I will switch to that. But yeah, I just need to go through the system and do it. I've just been super busy with a lot of stuff right now. I just got a new puppy, and that's been a whole thing. So that's why I haven't been uploading as much for this and just on my channel in general. I had to like change my whole layout of my room so things are more safe for the puppy, and just get my life arranged for her as well. So you'll probably see her in some of my videos and playthroughs coming up. So she's super cute, so I think you guys will like seeing her in here once in a while. Uh-oh. As she walked towards the altar, she called out again, but there was still no reaction. Yes, by now Rosa was sure of it. She was sure these weren't dolls, but the people themselves. Not looking good here, guys. They grew close enough to see clearly what lay on the table. It still looked like an adorable banquet, reminiscent of a child's birthday party. Plates piled up with sweets, cute pitchers with drinks, all kinds of pumpkin-shaped ornaments. They were all decorated a Halloween style. And while this probably wasn't the time to be thinking it, Maria surely would have been delighted to see all this. That was the state of the table they sat in front of, apparently asleep. It was an eerie scene, as though a small, fun-looking Halloween party had been stopped in time. Oh, they ain't dead, sister. When she approached even closer to them, she realized that there were snacks scattered all over the floor. Candies, cookies, sodas, and chocolates, all with heavenly fantasy-themed packaging. They were all scattered across the carpet, covered with blackberry and cranberry jam. Oh, shit. That ain't jam! Rosa and the rest finally realized what the situation was. It was a Halloween party, a banquet for those not of this world. Kraus, Natsui, Eva, Hideyoshi, Rudolph, and Kyrie were seated in chairs, apparently asleep, but all dead. How could you tell that they were dead and not simply sleeping? That was because they'd been vertically sliced up with, from their chests to their stomachs. Nasty. Ugh. The 6 of them had sat down at a Halloween party before having their stomachs split open, killing them. Then the jam covering the floor must have been what overflowed from their stomachs once they'd stuffed themselves completely, right? No. The contents of their stomachs had been scattered all over the floor. Ew. And that wasn't all. Out of their stomachs, it was almost as though they poured out. As though the snacks had overflowed from there. Like a piñata? Ugh, nasty. Candies and cookies, sodas and chocolates had all poured out, stained with blood, and scattered across the floor. What could it have happened to cause this? It's almost as though their stomachs were stuffed full of bursting with sweets, and it all poured out when their stomachs split open. Yo, only a witch could do that, in my opinion. Rosa remembered a shocking meal, a turkey that had been served at her birthday. When it had been cut open with a knife, out flowed one of her favorite foods. But since she had been told what was inside, deep red ketchup omelet rice poured out like bloody maggots. Ugh, pulsing, dripping, slimy, pulpy, squelching. That's nasty. Oh. I mean, can we blame her for this reaction? The trauma of her youth was revived. Rosa felt a monster raging inside her stomach as the acid started to rise. Unable to hold up, she threw it up all on the floor. Her empty stomach had nothing but stomach acid. The scene in front of her was no fun Halloween party now. The three couples were enshrined right there, their stomachs vertically wrenched open with a gooey? Oh, I don't even know what that is. So many stacks have been stuffed in there, pulpy, squishy. Blood and guts and sweets were overflowing onto the floor. Blood-stained, sticky, sloppy, pulpy, sweet snacks that have made your fingers stick together, gummy. But stained with entrails, sloppy, pulpy. What was that I stepped on just now? It didn't feel like a candy or a cookie or a soda or a chocolate. Oh, I'm scared. What did I step on? Oh, I can't even look at the bottom of my foot. Oh, what kind of gruesome Halloween party? From far away it looked truly beautiful, fantastical, and fun. But from up close it was horrible and disgusting, yet somehow still beautiful. Rosa's wild thoughts tried as best as they could to escape her throat with a loud voice that was neither scream nor roar. I'm gonna see if I can turn down this music a bit. Good lord, this is loud. I guess it's supposed to be loud. Okay. An ambulance? Yo, that ain't gonna do shit, homie. Phone lines are not working, I bet. If a word so tied to reality hadn't come out of Goda's mouth, Rosa and the rest probably would have found themselves unable to escape that nightmarish party even now. But it wasn't because they thought the police might be able to do something. If they didn't keep yelling about the police, it felt as though another seat might be set up at this demon's party and given to them. Also, guys, if you remember, Rosa was at the in this church last night. Apparently she doesn't remember, but when we had that part in the church, she was there. I went back and rewatched that part of my episode. Their own chests felt like they were expanding unpleasantly from the inside, rumbling, churning, and it was all surely because the candy was about to overflow from their stomachs. Rosa, once again tortured by a desire to vomit, threw her stomach acid up on the floor. And then she searched to see if there was any candy in it. Yo, if I threw up like a 100-gram bar, I'd be pretty pumped though. Those are delicious. Still wrapped, of course. I don't want it covered in vomit. Rosa coughed violently again, forcefully spitting out her stomach acid that had been burning in her throat. She realized by now that her whole body had been covered in a filthy sweat.
Genji-sanとシャナちゃんがお父様に連絡して指示を仰いでちょうだい。郷田さんはカノン君と一緒に行って警察に電話を。あと南條先生に来てもらう。
Why even bring Dr. Nancho here? It's a bit too late for medical care. I would concur with that. The servants accepted their orders and dashed outside. After watching them leave, Rosa once again stared at her siblings, with whom she spent good times and bad, and their partners. Though there could be nothing more tragic than this scene, and for some reason, she was tempted to describe these fantastical deaths as beautiful.
They're
dead, homie.
使用人室も厨房も空っぽだぜ。一体どうしちまったってんだ。
Oof. Oh. Yeah, that her mom definitely did
弱ったね。
kind of screw over her trust there.
バトラ君、本当にローザおばさんだったのかい？
まあ、俺も寝ぼけてたから自信はねえんだが。明け方にローザおばさんが入ってきて、マリアの手提げカバンを漁ってるような気がしたんだよ。俺はてっきり、マリアの手提げに歯磨きのチューブでも入ってるんじゃないかなんて思って寝ぼけてて。
なんで歯磨きのチューブがマリアの手提げに入ってるんだよ。
That is a solid point.
寝ぼけて夢でも見たに決まってんぜ。
Battler vaguely remembered Rosa entering the cousin's room. Also, when Maria woke up before the rest of them, she started rampaging around, saying that someone had opened the envelope she'd been keeping safe. Putting two and two together, they'd figured that Rosa had probably come and opened the envelope.
黄金の魔女様の封筒か。中に何が入ってたんだろ
う。わからないね。でも、あの封筒はおじい様が新書に使う後ろ宮家の家紋の入ったものだった。親族会議と無関係なものが入っていたとは考えがたいね。
She hadn't let anyone touch it, but yesterday, Maria had shown that envelope off to Battler and the rest of the whole lot. So they remembered it well. She ain't going to the Golden Land now.
George の兄貴の言う通りなら、相当重要なものらしいが。しかし、そんな大事なものを、どうして魔女様はマリアに渡したんだろうな。さっぱりだぜ。
Is he hasn't accepted that she's real all the way. Every once in a while, a refreshing morning atmosphere was completely wiped out by the sound of a thunder. It was only natural. Since the moment they'd woken up, they hadn't met anyone else. It felt as though they were left, as if the mansion had become an empty husk.
おーい！誰かいないか？
Marco! Polo!
返事してくれよ！
Jessica called out into the hallway, and eventually, an answer came back. It came from the entrance hall.
聞こえますとも。何かありましたか？
Oh, this guy.
南條先生だ。よかった。この島から僕たち以外が消えてしまったわけではないようだよ。
南條先生、おはようございます。すみませんが、うちの親たちとかどこに行ったか知りませんか？
はて、私も今起きてこちらに来たばかりですからな。わかりかねますが、さて。
It was only natural. Nancho was a guest there just like the rest of them. He'd come now just to pass the time in the parlor until breakfast. So, it looks like Shannon is probably going to be targeted, her and George, but I could see Maria and Rosa be killed next because they also love each other, but Shannon will probably get screwed over because I like Shannon. Maria buried her face in Nanjo's plump stomach, sobbing and crying. Nanjo could do nothing but be bewildered by this ruckus so early in the morning.
誰かかけてくるぜ。
Oh no.
ジェシカ、誰か来るぞ。
From down the hall, they could sense people running hurriedly. They saw Goda and Cannon coming towards them. Normally, it would be disgraceful for a servant to run inside the mansion, and yet Battler and the rest didn't even think to question that now. Maria's sobbing had become so unimaginable, they wanted to ask anyone, where Rosa was. But the two servants seemed to have bigger things on their minds than Jessica, who was waving at them. Goda flew into the servant room, and when Cannon noticed that Nanjo was there, he bowed to approach the doctor at a quick pace before whispering something into his ear.
何ですって？ローザさんが。
はい。ご案内いたしますので、どうかご同行お願いいたします。
わかりました。
こちらへ。
Without saying any more than that, Cannon finally noticed Jessica and bowed to her, but he wasn't calm. He dashed back down the corridor by which he had come, followed by Nanjo. By looking at how hurried they were, Battler and the rest realized that yes, something bad had really happened. They saw Goda through the door to... They saw Goda through the door to the servant room, which had been flung open. He was holding a receiver, violently pressing the hook. From that, they realized that he was trying to call the hospital or the police. In any event, he was trying to call someone because a serious emergency had occurred.
行ってみようぜ。
Oh no. They didn't know what, but something was happening. Battler and the rest chased after Cannon and Nanjo. And then we realized. Cannon had called Dr. Nanjo, but he hadn't called us. So we shouldn't have gone with them. I wonder if Alice regretted her excess curiosity when she chased after that rabbit holding a clock. You guys are about to... Shit's gonna get real in that church. They ain't gonna listen.
見ちゃダメ。ジェシカちゃん、ダメ。
Man, Jessica's voice actor is so good.
母さん、父さん、何があったの？
Diabetes.
なんだよこりゃ。趣味が悪いにも程があるじゃねえかよ。命を奪うならそれで十分事足りただろうがよ。
Spooky.
なんだよこりゃ。わざわざ殺した後に椅子に座らせて腹裂いて、菓子をわざわざ中に詰め込んだってのかよ。なんだってそんな悪趣味なことをしやがるんだよ。
I mean, I gotta feel him on that.
チキショウやってくれやがるぜ。最高だよ。
皆さんは外へ出られた方がいい。
Yeah.
こんな姿を皆さんに見せたいなどと彼らが思うわけがありません。
Nasha told the children to go outside, but no one listened.
ローザさん、皆さんに言ってください。こんなもの見続けては毒になる。
Rosa regretted her own carelessness. She should have realized that the children would eventually come here. She should have quickly locked up instead of standing around stunned. So the children had come here. They had seen it. Surely at this very moment, they were having a sight burned into their eyes. That was far more grotesque than the shocking meal Rosa had witnessed in her youth. While she hugged Maria, who seemed to be too shocked to show any emotion at the gruesome scene, Rosa cried for them and their parents. The four groaning and crying voices, their sadness continued to echo in a place that should have known God's love.
クソ野郎が。またかよ。またこんな殺人を。
Oh.
しかも、今度もやたらと凝った最高にふざけた殺し方をしやがって。
わらわはそんな嘆きより感謝の言葉が聞きたかったぞ。
感謝感謝と言ったがこのクソババ
Dang.
てめえ、耳がいかれてやがるってんなら、俺が両の耳を引き裂いて、よーく聞こえるようにしてやるぜ。
Bold.
なんで俺がこの最高にいかれた殺し方に、ありがとうございますベアトリーチェ様なんて言わなければならねえんだ。ぶっ殺してやる。
前回のゲームでお前は自分の親の死に顔が見られないと嘆いたな。だから残したぞ。
Ooh.
しっかり残した。よく拝んでおけ。間違いなく父親たちが殺されたことを。
She's sadistic as hell.
そうかよ。そいつはサービス満点だぜ。気に入った。
感情に任せて思考を止めるな。すでにわらわのゲームは始まっておるのだぞ。わらわは今回は綺麗に死体を残すことに決めた。なぜだかわかるか？前回のゲームでそなたがわらわの存在を否定するとき、こう考えて否定したであろう。顔面が潰され、遺体の身元が確認できない。
Man, she's very
だ
meticulous
か
in
ら身
this.
代わりの死体を用意してアリバイを作った可能性が否定できない。その可能性が排除できない限り人間犯人説は維持できる。
なんだと？
さあバトラ、南條に検視を任せてよいのか？ミステリーの古典では検視の医者がグルというのが伝統なのだろう。なら南條に検視を任せる。
Dang.
そなたが自らするがよい。
She is messed up.
間違いなく6人の死体が当人で、死んだふりなどでなく本当に死んでいることを十分に確認するがいい。お前の父親が母親が腹を裂かれて臓物を引きずり出されて殺されていることを腹に手を入れてその手触りで確認するがいい。
Nasty.
泣かねえ。
Bro, you are crying. I don't blame you though.
ちくしょう。泣かねえぞ俺は。
Atler suddenly yelled. His tears were still dripping down, but as though scolding himself for being a sissy, he slapped his face hard several times with both hands. Even so, the tears wouldn't stop. However, he felt a hot blaze in both of his eyes.
これだけの上等を決めやがった野郎に借りはがっちり返させていただくぜ。
You already know who's responsible.
なら泣く時じゃねえ。自分のすべきことを考えろ。ああ、ダメだぜ。全然ダメだ。涙を流す暇があったら考えろ。涙腺なんかひるませる時じゃねえ。
Rather than genuine anger, maybe it was more of an erasive anger to blot out his sadness. However, it gave a little courage to George and Jessica, who'd been crushed by the sadness.
そうだね。僕たちが泣いても怒ってしまった現実は変わらない。
は父さんと母さんのために何をすればいいんだよ。
Eat Goda's breakfast.
ローザ様、
I left the eggs on the fryer.
戻りました。
ゴーダさん、警察はどうでしたか？対応の指示はいつ頃来られそうだと言っていましたか？
それが
Of course.
電話が故障のようでして、非常用の無線機も試してはみたのですが、その天候のせいでしょうか、こちらも通じず。
なんですって。じゃあ警察に連絡がつかないということなの？
Correct.
あいつだ。あいつが電話線とかに採掘して警察に電話ができないようにしたんだ。
When she heard that the phones had broken down, Jessica immediately decided that it was the work of that mysterious guest. Her eyes were bright red after so much crying, and they began to grow even redder with rage.
もう議論の余地なんかねえぜ。全てが分かってる。そうだと分かる。父さんと母さんを殺したのは誰だ？決まってるぜ、あいつだ。昨日来たとかいう魔女様に決まってる。襟首ひねり上げてやるぜ。
Girl, you ain't grabbing her by the collar.
チクショーチクショーチクショー。ジェシカちゃん、お待ちなさい。ゴーダさん、カノ君、行って。
はい。お嬢様、お待ちを。
Covering her uncontrollable sadness with anger, Jessica ran outside, torn apart by emotion. Thinking about it hastily, maybe the mystery guest who arrived yesterday, Beatrice, was suspicious. However, in that instant, there was absolutely no proof that she was the culprit. At this moment, she was just another guest, no more, no less. So Rosa, making an adult decision, was forced to stop Jessica in her rash rampage. Goda and Cannon picked up on this immediately and chased after her.
誰にも招かれなかった客人、ベアトリーチェが犯人なんだろうか。
ジェシカの気持ちもわかる。そう思い込みたい気持ちは、俺に誰でもいいから犯人ってことにして横っ面をぶっ飛ばしてやりたい気持ちがある。だがその前にはっきりと理解する必要がある。ベアトリーチェってのは何者なんだ。俺は顔すら見てねえぜ。
I'm confused of him. Like, is he just saying this to say it? Or, because he just went and talked to her, like, in another dimension or something. So, I don't know. Is that supposed to be confusing to me? Or am I just, like, thinking too much into it?
顔ならお屋敷に大きな肖像画で飾られてたよ。
Maria's right.
あれだけ見てまだ覚えられないのかな。
なんだよマリア、こんな状況で何がおかしいよ。
ベアトリーチェは魔女なんだよ。そして黄金鏡の扉を開くための儀式がいよいよ始まったの。この6人はその生贄なんだよ。さあさあ始まるよ、魔女の宴が。今宵はハロウィン。魔女たちが今こそ祝い
shit's about to get real. Is he gonna hit her?
マリア、その気持ち悪い声で笑うのをやめなさいっていつも言ってるでしょ。
The crisp sound of Rosa slapping Maria's cheek echoed through the high-ceiling chapel. Ever since it started raining yesterday, no, ever since the island was swallowed by the typhoon, they felt something was wrong. It was bright and sunny when I arrived in Rokujima, but since I had gotten up early and was sleepy, I took a nap. When I woke up, it had already started raining. And ever since that time, suddenly a mysterious visitor calling herself the Golden Witch Beatrice had arrived, and it felt like this was a sinking bit by bit into a bizarre world. What the heck happened while I was napping? Am I supposed to believe this island was sealed off inside a different world where common sense doesn't apply? Who is this person called Beatrice? Is some unknown person trying to involve themselves with an inheritance problem, just like our parents were freaking out about at dinner last night? Or is the culprit this witch from the Legend of the Gold? Just like Maria said. Even if Jessica's temper aside, given circumstances, it's probably safe to say that this visitor person is the most suspicious. But we mustn't make up our minds based on that alone. It's useless. It's useless. It's all useless. I smacked my face with both hands again, cooling my brains off before they overloaded. Even though it might be a wasted effort.
これはおじい様の封筒。
On a tray piled with sweets, George found a Western envelope that had the Ushiromiya family crest done on it in golden leaf. And it was unopened.
ってことは、それは俺たち宛てってことじゃねえのか。
That's a correct assumption, I would say.
親父たちが読んだものだったなら開封されてるはずだぜ。
その推理は正解のようだよ。書いてある。残されし者たちへって書いてあるよ。
Savage.
それは犯人が残した手紙なの。中身。
兄貴、開けようぜ。
Not gonna lie, I have a feeling Beatrice and Battler are gonna smash. They have like a weird sexual tension. After nodding silently, George broke the seal. A folded letter came out.
読むよ。六軒島へようこそ。後宮家の皆様方。私は、金蔵様にお仕えしております。当家顧問錬金術師のベアトリーチェと申します。
That letter really was a joke. This Beatrice who called herself a family alchemist had announced that she was collecting the gold she'd lent grandfather along with interest. And that interest was everything grandfather had created. Since this tragedy was right before our eyes, as this paragraph was being read aloud, it clearly wasn't referring just to the wealth that grandfather had built up. It was literal. Everything that grandfather had created. In other words, all of grandfather's descendants were included in the interest.
ふざけやがって。なんてめちゃくちゃな契約だ。黄金の利子は命だってのかよ。そんなのまるで悪魔の契約じゃねえかよ。
Fair assessment.
それで魔女気取りってわけか。はっ、裏わせやがるぜ。
特別条件。
Special clause.
ただし、隠された契約の黄金を暴いた者が現れた時、ベアトリーチェはこの権利を全て永遠に放棄しなければならない。黄金の隠し場所については、すでに金蔵様が私の肖像画の下に碑文にて公示されております。つまりこういうことだね。もしこの殺人が利子の回収行為だというなら、それを止める条件としておじい様に与えた隠し黄金を探し出してみろとこう言って、そしてその秘密は例の肖像画の碑文に隠されているとも言ってる。
つまりこいつは魔女様の挑戦状ってわけか。黄金の隠し場所を記した暗号文を解けるものなら解いてみろと。そしてそれができなきゃ利子の回収をこの後も着々と進めていきますと、そう言ってやがるわけか。ぶっ殺してやる上等だ。
バトラ君、これ
The table was covered with sweets, so even though those things were right out in the open, we just assumed they were sweets too. I mean, come on, you see them a lot, right? You know those boxes of chocolates shaped like gold ingots?
こりゃお菓子の箱じゃねえぞ。
It's just a little taste of the gold.
本物だ。こりゃ本物の金塊だ。
片翼のわしの紋章が刻印されてる。前に母さんが話してたのを聞いた。これはおじいさまの黄金伝説の金塊だよ。
It's gonna be real hard for him to dismiss this. Gold ingots weigh a full 10 kilograms. A whole 3 of them were piled up at the very center of the table. That's worth so much money. It was where a cake would be placed if it was a birthday party. In other words, this was without a doubt the birthday cake that the party had known as the family conference.
これが本当に純度49のインゴットだったなら、6000万円くらいの価値はある。
Gold worth so much.
バカ野郎。安すぎる。俺たちの親が6人も殺されて、そこに積まれた黄金がたったの6000万円だと。バカにするんじゃねえ。
Maria's just friggin' batting 1,000 on these.
さあ始まったね、ベアトリーチェ。どうせこの謎は誰にも解けないよ。だから絶対にベアとの勝ち。早く黄金鏡への扉を開いて、そしてマリアを連れてって。
Oh man, I like that song. Hello?
お嬢様、どうか気をお沈めください。
That was an abrupt adjustment.
誰が犯人かはまだわかりませんぞ。それにベアトリーチェ様、親方様の大切な賓客です。
だからなんだってんだ。本人の胸ぐらひねり上げてやれば白状するに決まってるぜ。目を見ればわかるんだよ。私が見破ってやる。何が魔女だ、ベアトリーチェだ。化けの皮を剥いでやる。
Jessica never stopped moving. Goda and Cannon chased after her, doing their best to convince her to stop, but Jessica never lent them an ear. Eventually, the witch's VIP room came into view. The VIP room was always sealed and never used. No matter what kind of guest came, Kinzo wouldn't let them stay there. And yet, the servants were always made to clean this room, so that it could be used at any time. So the servants had started calling this room the witch's VIP room, after their second shapeless master. Jessica knew about this too. And she couldn't forgive the arrogance of the one who called herself a witch by staying in that room. The Golden Witch was just a fairy tale. Come on, a witch? To Jessica, she was nothing more or less than a murderer who had brutally killed her parents. Question her, hear her pitiful excuses, make her sputter in pain, gasp in anguish. No matter how hard she pretends to be a witch, I'll teach her that she's just a stinking, sweaty human. As Jessica yelled with all of her strength, she hit the door to the VIP room. It definitely wasn't a knock. That sound was the beating of her anger's hammer, and if she was determined to break the door down if it wasn't open.
開けろよ、ベアトリーチェ。出てこい。聞こえてるんだろ。ここを開けろ。
Well, she's in love with Cannon, so I guess Beatrice could just wipe those two out here. There was no answer. Jessica grabbed the doorknob without any reservation, but she felt a resistance of the lock. She turned around to look at the two servants and spoke.
ここマスターキーで開くんでしょ。開けて。
お嬢様、それは大変な失礼に当たります。
Although Goda was flustered, he still tried to somehow calm down Jessica's anger. After hanging his head slightly for a while, Cannon pulled out a master key from his jacket pocket.
カノンさん、 いいんですか？
もしおられたなら、無礼になるのは承知です。それに、もし、ベアトリーチェ様が何の関係もないというなら、それを僕たちに釈明して納得させる。
She's just gonna say she did it because she gives no fucks.
そうだ、その通りだ。カリブゼ。
Jessica snatched the master key from Cannon's hand and violently shoved it into the keyhole. Immediately, there was a small sound as she felt the lock click. Then, without asking permission, she flung the door open.
ベアトリーチェ！どこだ？出てこい！
Jessica rudely stepped into the room. The witch wasn't anywhere to be seen.
くそったれ！いねえぜ！どこ行きやがった？
I had that same question.
お姿がありませんね。
Ooh, shit. Jessica, thinking she might be hiding somewhere inside the room, peeked behind the curtains and under the bed, but she couldn't find anyone. Imagine if she was hiding behind the curtains and you just see her feet, like, under them. However, there were definitely signs that the bed had been used, and though it was a vague sense, the atmosphere in the room felt a little soft. It wasn't a hard atmosphere of a place normally devoid of people like the chapel. You could definitely tell that someone had spent the night in this room. But she could not be seen. In reality, neither Jessica nor Goda had met Beatrice. They had only been told by those who had met her that she looked like a double of the character in the portrait. So they were doubtful of what her face really looked like. However, Cannon alone had met her. He understood what kind of being that witch was, and what kind of personality she had. So he knew that forcing their way in to search for her definitely wouldn't work out. She must be watching us bitterly flail about in vain from somewhere, sneering at us. She's that kind of person. Because she's looking at things that way, Cannon was the first to find it. The other two were concentrating on finding a shadow of a person that they didn't notice. Near the water jug on the side of the table, there was a single sheet of letter paper. On it was a short message, and nearby it was a fountain pen which had been used to write it. Cannon had already come to understand the witch. After finding the corpses, they'd been overcome by rage and barged in there, only to find no one. So of course the witch would mock them. You can't mock someone unless they know they're being mocked. So in other words, that's what this must be.
お嬢様、ここに何か書かれています。
書かれてるってなんだ？
Jessica dashed over and violently snatched a piece of paper away. She probably wasn't trying to be violent. She just couldn't control her strength right now.
だと？なめやがって！
As soon as she read the message, Jessica went into a wild rage, crumpled up the paper, and threw it. You bet. Imagine if she actually broke glass from throwing a piece of paper, how strong she'd be. Then she grabbed the light stand by the bedside and violently swung it around, mercilessly hitting the walls and furniture with it. The light bulbs all shattered at once, and their fragments were scattered across the room.
お嬢様、気をお静めください。お怪我をなさいます。
離せよ！ちくしょう、ちくしょう！出てきやがれ、ベアトリーチェ！よくも父さんと母さんを！そんなに私が怖いかよ！殺してやる！殺してやる！
Good luck with that.
ぶっ殺してやるから姿を現しやがれ！だから離せって言ってんだろ！くそー！
This was written on the paper.
私がぬくぬくとここであなたが飛び込んでくるのを待ちぼうけるとでも知的な夜に粗暴なるあなたは似合わない。こんな間抜けに育てた親はどんな顔？見たよ。本当にそっくりな間抜け面。
Damn.
今はお菓子の国でお腹いっぱい。
It was the sort of thing that the witch would write. It meant that she predicted that one of the children who lost their parents would come running in here. If she had been hiding somewhere in the room, she must have been rolling around laughing now. The witch was that kind of person. She stared at people's misfortune, using it to stave off the boredom of 1,000 years. Alright guys, I'm going to stop here for now, because I'm tired as shit. Yeah, this is really wild. It's so hard, like, I'm trying to figure out how Battler's gonna, like, justify none of this is, like, from a witch. But, yeah, we'll see. This was, like, a really intense episode. The candy thing, crazy. It sounds like they're having the banquet with witches. And I'll hopefully get to that, in my next episode. So, and yeah, guys, I will, I know where I'm at, so once I update the sprites, I'm gonna have to restart my whole thing, but I'll use control and skip forward and shit. So, but yeah, I'll have the update the next one. I just been really busy, so, and I wanted to get one more out around the time of the next Higurashi episode. So I should have, after this one, probably I'm gonna try to get 3 more out this week. So, and you may see my pup in parts of the videos because she's still really young and needs constant attention. So, right now my roommate's watching her. But yeah, guys, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel.